about 15 PowerPoint slides pretty quickly, just so we can save most of our time for demonstrating the software, show you how it works with good old SX.e data. So with that being said, kind of what we want to do in terms of the agenda today is we're going to talk about user requirements. What are people looking for when they talk to us? What have other customers experienced when it comes to working with ECQ? We'll talk about kind of an overview. What is ECQ and what does it do? How does it do it? And we'll spend most of our time just showing you the software working against typical data. And then we'll talk about the next steps. And again, the next steps can be anything from, maybe a one-on-one demo for your organization to just send me the software and let me play with it. We're happy to work with you any way you like. So with that being said, here's what we see when we typically talk to SX.e customers. The number one thing they're asking for is they're looking for easy and fast access to SX.e. Now, we're not limited to SX.e data, so if you need to combine data from SX.e and something like Sightline or SAP or JD Edwards or even Excel tables or Microsoft Access databases, we can do that. So it's not limited to SX.e. I'm going to talk SX.e most of the time during the session, but again, combining data from multiple sources is something that ECQ does very well and very easily. So number one question people ask for is easy access to SX.e. And they're saying, okay, how come you're so fast? With ECQ, we're talking directly to the underlying database. So as we go through, we'll talk about the architecture and how we pull in all the metadata, the information about the information, the SX.e table names and field names and mass and all that. But when we actually click run, the thing that's unique about Enterprise Cyberquery or ECQ is we're going to talk directly to the progress database, and we're talking native progress calls. We're not going through ODBC like most of the other tools out there. We actually have a native progress connection, which makes our connection super fast and very reliable. I know from talking to other users that, with other packages, if people try to do more than 2 or 3 connections or different database links, the system will just die. With ECQ, you can do 5, 10, 20 different tables in a single report or dashboard without any issue. So ECQ is fast, and the bottom line is because we're speaking native progress, we're not trying to talk to progress as if it were a standard ODBC database, because it's not. Okay, third thing we're going to talk about is all the kinds of reports, charts, analytics that you can do within the system, including things like scheduling reports, sending them out via email. Reports can go out in any format you like, not just paper, not just to the screen, but as an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF document or HTML. We'll show you all kinds of drill downs where you can start with a sales report or a dashboard and click and click and click and drill through to get to the actionable level of information that you need. The other thing we're going to talk about is the whole power side of ECQ. ECQ is not just a simple sort and list tool that runs out of gas very quickly. With ECQ, you can do any report, any dashboard you can imagine, whether it's something like an income statement or balance sheet or a bill of materials or a bill of lading, invoices, purchase orders. You can do it all with ECQ. You can do all kinds of sales analysis, and you can access data directly out of SX.e or out of data marts or even a combination. And that's really what's key, because sometimes people will want to start off in a dashboard at a very high level, but then drill down and drill down, eventually be drilling down into records coming right out of OEEH or OEEL or some of those native SX.e tables. So again, you can present the information to users any way that makes sense, and you can let them have access to native tables or summarized data, whatever makes the most sense for their job. Okay, the other thing we'll talk about are dashboards and some of the more interesting dashboards we've built for people or that they build on their own. We'll show you examples of all those. Okay, and the other thing we'll talk about is the pricing. ECQ is very reasonably priced, so you don't need to mortgage the farm to get into the software. And we'll talk about pricing as we go through the session today. Okay, but one of our customers has said, hey, every Infor customer should have ECQ. So we asked Howard from UEAY, and he said, number one, he said it's a fast environment for developing ad hoc reports. He said, number two, less work for me. Obviously, Howard was an IT guy, and was looking to be able to push a lot of the report development off to the end users. Number 3, he said, power users are developing their own reports, and they're learning how the application is structured and why it's so important to collect complete and accurate data. He also said users are seeing and understanding data in ways they've never been able to see it before. He also described ECQ as drama-free software. He said it's always up, never down, and again called it drama-free. And he finally said excellent customer support. So we do really pride ourselves on our customer support. You don't need to log a call and wait for us to get back to you. Just call your favorite support rep. They'll answer your call immediately, and you can get on with life. Okay, another one of our customers are the people at Air Tractor. They build these crop duster planes that you see right there. As they were implementing their new system, they had some very complex report requirements. They needed to make sure that all their manufacturing standards were within tolerance. So again, they built some very complex reports with ECQ immediately after downloading the trial version of the software. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to build some very complex reports and dashboards. Here's a customer, HyperPet. They distribute pet toys, chew toys and shampoos for dogs and things like that. And the user will tell you that things are going great with ECQ. It seems so natural to use it, and the reports we're producing are awesome, and they underlined awesome. And they're just a small user. So you don't need to be a big shop to use ECQ. Another one of our customers distributes heat transportation or heat distribution, radiators and things like that. And they wanted to be able to have a series of dashboards that they could send out every morning. So when asked why did they choose ECQ, they said, number 1, we needed to consolidate data from multiple different databases, but we needed to automatically distribute dashboards to the executives every morning. They were looking for something easy and fast, something where they could train the department leads, and they would then be able to build their own reports and dashboards. They wanted to replace manual consolidation, and something where they called it delivery on promise. If they promise the user a dashboard, they want to make sure that they'd be able to deliver it. So everything from A to Z when it comes to building dashboards and reports comes with ECQ. There's no additional software required. And finally, they were looking for something cheap. We don't like to be described as cheap, but we're very, very cost effective. And then just here are some of the dashboards they distribute every morning at 6 o'clock. Here's one showing sales gross margin by plant for a rolling 13-month period. And you'll notice that there's a bunch of blue underscores. Anytime a user wants, they can click on a blue underscore to drill down to see sales or margin for that particular site. Drill down by customer. I'll show you some more examples. Here's another dashboard they distribute. This is showing revenue by year by month. Here's margin by year by month. Here's what they call their order bank. That's their backlog by division. Here's the order bank by end user type. And then here's just orders showing orders versus shipments or sales, month to date, year to date, all that kind of stuff. Again, with drill down. So again, the executive that receives this dashboard can click and click and click on any of these lines to get information that they might need to see what's going on. Okay, another dashboard we built, a little bit more complicated. This was for a shop floor environment. A shop floor manager came to us and said, hey, I want to be able to look and see what's going on the shop floor. And I kind of like this idea of the stoplights. So the user set this up, said, okay, a green stoplight means no jobs over standard in that particular work center group. Yellow means one job over standard. Red means more than one job over standard. This dashboard was so successful, they put it on a touchscreen monitor out on the shop floor, and now users can walk right up and say, oh, I got an issue in turret. They go tap, and now they can drill down and see the individual work centers within that group. They can click on a work center and say, okay, here are my open jobs, and are they red, green, or yellow? Click on an open job, and they can drill all the way down to see individuals who are logging time against that particular order. So again, they can start with a real high view and go click or tap, tap, tap to get the information they need to see. So the dashboarding tool is very powerful and yet very easy to set up. Okay, here's an example of a very complex report, and you may or may not have this kind of complexity, but let me just explain it so that you know ECQ, again, can really handle any report you needed or that you might need. This particular customer, they saw a webinar like this. They said, hey, I like the look and feel of the product, but we really have got some ugly reports we'd like you to take. So they gave us this report as a challenge saying, hey, if you can do this report, we'll buy your software. They said every morning we have 2 people come in 2.5 hours early each day. They download 20 spreadsheets out of our application to create this report. This is basically an expediting report. What this report does is it first looks at all your inventory on hand across all your inventory locations. Then it looks at all your demand and then kind of nets the two together. So it looks at inventory by item, looks at orders by item, and then nets the two together to figure out which items you do not have sufficient inventory on hand. And then what it does is it looks to see where those, those items are in the purchase process or in the manufacturing process, so that the users can go out there and expedite those orders. This happens to be a manufacturing kind of report. So it says, okay, breaking down the routing, here's where the jobs stand currently. So now users can go out and expedite those particular orders to get them ready to ship. They can also click on any of these blue underscores and get more information on the items themselves, or the jobs, or who placed the orders, to see if maybe it's possible to delay a delivery for a given customer. So again, very effective report. Remember, it's taken them 2.5 hours to manually do this report. Now with ECQ, they can do it in 20 seconds. They can do the report multiple times a day. They, more than just the once a day they were doing it before. So a big win for everybody. Okay, so Enterprise Cyberquery, or ECQ, is really designed around 3 key functional areas. Number 1 is ease of use. And that's ease of use whether the user's an executive clicking on a dashboard, or an end user who's dragging and dropping fields to build a report, or a power user who's slicing and dicing and drilling down through data, or even a developer who's looking at the code behind all the pretty screens. So users can work at any level they choose. You can also secure data at the database, the table, the row, all the way down to the column value level. So you can set it up where salesman A only sees salesman A data, B can only see B data, but maybe this manager for A and B can see all salesmen in his category or his territory. Okay, the second bullet is power. Again, any report you can dream of doing or dashboard you can do in ECQ. The third bullet is performance. ECQ is fast. It's a server-based solution, meaning you can install it on any Windows, Unix, or Linux box. A lot of people like to put ECQ on a Windows server, even though they may be talking to Progress on a, on a Unix machine or on a Linux machine, just because Windows boxes are cheap, but we can be installed any place you like. Fourth bullet we throw in here is more for the accounting people, and that's cost. ECQ can be licensed any way you like. You can license it on a perpetual or permanent basis, annually, or month to month. And the software's got to be good if we're willing to license it on a month-to-month basis. A typical SX.e customer probably spends around $1,200, $1,300 a month on the software, and we can break down the pricing more as we go along. But the thing that people will tell you is the software works. It does do what we say it does, and it does it very reliably, and it does it very quickly. Okay, now the next handful of slides we're going to go through are just screenshots of reports coming out of ECQ. This one is showing, sales by customer broken down by, in this case, region or by site. You can see BJ stands for Beijing, and we can translate dollars from any currencies you need into any other currency. We also handle multiple byte, character sets, as you can see right there. But again, just very easy. And again, users just click to drill down on any of these blue underscore values. Here's an interesting report that we do for 3M. This report runs nightly and sends to each sales rep all of their shipments for the day. So the sales rep can then look at the data, and you'll notice that that tracking number has a blue underscore. If the user clicks on that blue underscore, ECQ will jump the user out of the SX.e environment, and in this case take him into the UPS or FedEx or Old Dominion, whatever carrier you might be using, to show the exact delivery status of that shipment. So again, you're not restricted to just data inside of SX.e or even inside your four walls. It can be a cloud-based application like these carriers have. Okay, here's an example of a chart just showing this is jobs, starting early and starting late. But again, a user can click on any of these segments of the bar, any of these values, and get more data just by, again, going click. Okay, here's another example. With ECQ, you can go across multiple databases very easily, and even modules within the application for consolidated reporting. And again, users just click to drill down. Here's an example of a good old income statement. Current month, percent of sales, year-to-date percent of sales, prior year, all that. But again, if a user has a question, they just go click. I'm going to click on cost of materials, and now it breaks it down by ledger account. And again, I can just go click on ledger account for a given time period, and here's my finalized transactions for that ledger account for that time period. So again, all end users need to know is click. Okay, as you build reports and you want to share them, you publish them to what we call the ECQ Launchpad. Now this Launchpad, all you need is a browser. And really, to use ECQ anywhere, all you need is a browser, whether it's Internet Explorer, Edge, Firefox, Chrome, even Safari. So if you have people walking around with an iPad or an Android device, they can get their dashboards, they can build reports from those devices. And all they need to do is click. So again, all you need to use the product is a browser. Okay, I see a question came in saying, can you link together SX.e progress with data in SQL Server? And again, the answer is yes. So any data source, we can even link SX.e data with Excel. So if maybe you've got a, if your regions are dynamic and you keep them Excel, you can use those regions in Excel to drive the security for some of your SX.e reports. So again, multiple databases, not a problem with ECQ. Okay, let's see. Okay, here's an example of a more sophisticated report. So reports can either be pretty simple and static or very dynamic. This is a more dynamic report. This report has two windows in it. This left-hand window is a selection area where a user can come in here and just by clicking, they can pick an accounting period within a year. They can even pick a day. Based on what they select in this left-hand column, the main body of the report is going to refresh with that data. You can resort the report by clicking on a column header. You can output the PDF or Excel, or you can drill through the report just by clicking on a customer number in this case. Okay, and here's an example of an ECQ report being output to Excel. ECQ is great. It doesn't print to Excel as if it were a sheet of paper. It actually outputs sums and maxes and mins wherever possible. We also have this nice Excel add-in where a user can sit inside of Excel and pull data directly into a cell or a range of cells wherever they might want it. So for this particular spreadsheet you're looking at, these yellow fields up here at the top, those are the input fields that drive these other reports. This blue data, the green data, and the gray data down below, that's all data coming out of SX.e. These charts are just good old local Excel charts. These local variables and calculations, again, that's all local to Excel. So a user can set up this report, drop data in here. They can do whatever forecasting they want to at the Excel level. They can save the report. They can email it because it's in Excel at this point in time. They can come back to it next month, open it up, and click refresh or change some of these input values. ECQ will reach back into progress, pull back the data, update these cells, but not overwrite the existing charts. They'll just update these charts based on new value that you see here in the blue or the green or the gray. So it's a great combination that lets users have direct and secure access to all the underlying SX.e data, but also being able to do whatever kind of modeling or what-ifing they might want to do at the Excel level. Okay, another question came in saying, what versions of Excel will we support? We'll output data into any version of Excel. The add-in does require Excel 2003 or above. Okay, and here's an example of an ECQ Excel using the Excel add-in in a pivot table. So this this spreadsheet gets updated every night at 7 o'clock, and then it gets distributed to all the salespeople in an Excel format. That way, if a user's on the road, he can still operate his pivot tables directly from inside of Excel. So again, it gets refreshed automatically and then emailed to any group of users. Okay, here's an example of a good old Kanban card, a manufacturing card. That graphics is coming out of AutoCAD. All the rest of the data is coming out of the local ERP system. Here's another report. And this report is kind of interesting, the history behind this report. For example, well, I'll just tell you the history. So this customer originally bought another very expensive BI package. They spent 6 months working with the BI vendor to try to create this report. They couldn't do it. They met us through a webinar like you're watching today, and they said, hey, I like the look and feel of ECQ, but we really need something that's got a lot of power. And we said, oh, we got a lot of power. They said, yeah, that's what the last vendor told me. We said, no, really, we got a lot of power. They said, okay, tell you what we're going to do. Take this report and come back when you're done. So they gave us this report as a test, thinking they'd never see us again. Remember, they couldn't do this report in 6 months working with the other BI vendor. We wrote this report in 2 days with ECQ. They're blown away, signed up, became a great customer. But the story doesn't end there. Their application vendor came to them about 2 years later and said, hey, we just signed a new deal with a new reporting tool, and we want all of our big customers using this new tool. So we need a free copy of this package. And this customer said, great, we love free software, but before we invest a whole lot of time, take this report, come back when you're done. So they gave this report to the new vendor. This new vendor came back 2 months later and asked, do you have an easier report we could work on? This customer kind of laughed at him and said, thanks, but no thanks, and they continued being one of our biggest customers. Now, I see a question came in saying, what were the name of those vendors? I really can't give that on a webinar, but one begins with a B and another one begins with a C. That might help you understand who those were. Okay, here's an example of a costed and indented bill of material coming out of ECQ. Here's the bill of material with the routing on top of it. And then here's just some sample dashboards. So with ECQ, you can build dashboards with lines and bars and horizontal bars, and I'll show you a bunch more examples here. But again, all the user needs to do is click and drag to build these objects that are then dropped into the dashboard. The dashboard can be set up with security so that, the California division only sees California data, Arizona only sees Arizona, Midwest can see, their regions, and corporate can see everything. So again, you can set these up any way you like. And again, users navigate just by going click. Here's an example of a dashboard on an Android tablet, and it's also showing some of the later dashboarding types. So a Sperkine is used to show a trend in data. A bullet chart's like a gauge, but they take up a lot less real estate on your screen than a gauge would. For example, if you look at revenue, you can see we're at 95 million and we're ahead of target. That vertical bar is target, and we're in the good area. That light pink is good. That medium orange is kind of the okay, and the brighter orange is in the poor area. And if we're only in the poor area, you see a little bullet appear. That's why they call it a bullet chart. But again, a user can click on the bullet on any of these labels to drill down to get more data to make a good decision. Okay, with ECQ, you can also do things like bubble charts. Here's an example of a heat map. We can even do things like scorecards with red, green, yellow, purple, whatever colors you want to use. Those are all conditional. Now, the way ECQ works, so this is the one kind of technical slide in the presentation. So again, if you like what you see, we'll send you a link to download the software. The download takes about 10 minutes. From there, we have a utility we call the SX.e Toolkit. That SX.e Toolkit goes out there and looks at your installation of SX.e and any custom tables or custom fields that you may have added. So it builds the dictionary automatically, and it brings in both the native as well as the user-friendly table and field names. And I'll show you what that means. So, and I'll show you in the demo, but rather than looking at OEEL, somebody's going to be able to see something that says, order entry line. So something that's a little bit more intuitive for the average end user. But most importantly, the second item here, ECQ goes through the application and the database and figures out the joins, and that's key. So users do not need to write SQL to join one table to the other. They just click and drag. ECQ figures out the joins between all the tables. The system can handle multiple databases, multiple sites, multiple companies, as well as multiple applications in a single dictionary, or you can have multiple dictionaries. You can have one for SX.e and one for Sightline and one for, Salesforce, and then a fourth one that combines them all together. So data from any source, ECQ can combine together. ECQ and the data dictionary also help you translate some of the funny data types that get used out there. So we'll automatically translate timestamps into dates and vice versa. We handle enumerated and text fields. And because we're speaking native progress, we know how to handle the multiple arrays that exist within SX.e. And because we're talking native, orders of magnitude faster than any tool that tries to talk ODBC. We talk to all the databases we support natively. So again, the connections are fast and the load on the machine is very low. As most of you probably know, if you try to do a join with a ODBC-based tool and you try to create a join that's got more than 2 or 3 or 4 tables, it'll just turn out the lights. I mean, it'll just draw everything to its knees. With ECQ, you can have reports or dashboards that connect data from 5, 10, 20 progress tables. And again, because we're talking progress, it's fast, it's clean, it's efficient, it's not going to die on you, it's not going to crash, and it works very good. We also support joining to index file structures or other non-data structures as well. We do support ODBC for things like Excel and Access, but your SX.e data, we're going to be using native progress calls. The other nice thing about the dictionary is you can define what we call viewpoints. So you can set this up so that salespeople, for example, may see 0 SX.e tables. All they're going to see are ECQ data marts and cubes that are coming off of that data. Somebody in purchasing might see 5 or 10 SX.e tables. Somebody in finance might see 50 or 100 tables, but they don't need to see all 2,400 tables in SX.e. So again, it helps them get a more reasonable view of the data that they need to access. Okay? And then finally, with ECQ, we've got great technical support. So whenever you have a question, you pick up the phone, you call your favorite support reps, and they answer your question immediately. You get on with life. We do something nice with our people. We don't burn them out. So we rotate our people around. So for example, one week a user might be doing training at the customer site. The next week, that consultant may be doing remote consulting, or they may be on the support line. Our people travel about 1 week a month, so we're able to keep them around. So the average tenure on the support line is in excess of 8 years. We also have great on-site training. So if you decide to keep the software, we'll actually send a trainer out to your facility. They'll spend 1 day with kind of the IT people, setting up security and talking about bringing in other application data. Then the second and third day is what we call the power user training. Then Thursday and Friday, we just sit down with you and we work through, how do you set up, just building production reports. Okay, now a question came in about handling data, versus, it looks like it's more of a, question. I'll read it here. Can you handle both fiscal data as well as calendar data? And the answer is yes. Within ECQ, we have multiple calendars, so we can handle fiscal calendar. We can also handle holiday calendars. So again, if you say how many, days between order and shipment, and you want to, not count the 4th of July, we've got calendars that show work days as well. So multiple calendars within the system. Okay, and with ECQ, we can do all kinds of, I'll call them funky joins, where you have to do a reverse approximate join to get back into your fiscal period tables, but ECQ handles that, again, all automatically for the users. Okay, here we go. This is just kind of a graphic describing what we've gone through. So starting down here at the bottom, All the user needs is a browser. From the browser, they're going to connect to the ECQ server. Again, that can be any Windows, Unix, or Linux box. Based upon a user's profile, they may see, one table or, one company or one division worth of data. Another user connecting to the same server may see multiple tables or multiple divisions or multiple companies or maybe even multiple applications. Again, it's all profile based. They may or may not see ECQ data marts and cubes. And again, I'll show you examples of that as we go along. The other nice thing about ECQ is there's a complete scheduling system as well as a complete macro and scripting environment that comes with the package. So you can build a job that number one step goes out there and updates a data mart. Number two might run 50 reports against that data mart. And number three might be emailing those 50 reports to everybody in the company. And that can be done automatically the first day of the month, or it can be done at the click of a button, however you choose to set that up. But it's a very complete, very powerful environment. Okay, now if you like what you see, again, just let us know. We'll send you the free evaluation copy of the software. It's basically a link, you download it. We'll even help you create the dictionary, and then what we do is we like to get a handful of reports from you that will show you how to build. So if you get some reports that you're not able to build in your current environment, give them to us as a test, as a proof of concept. We'll show you how to build them in ECQ and how fast they're going to run with ECQ. So we like to do that. Then we kind of go away, let you play with the software for 30 days. If you like it, you keep it. If you don't, you send it back to us, all done at no cost. So that's what we mean by the ECQ test drive. Okay, here's my contact information. We'll come back to this, but I'm going to kind of jump out of here right now just to show you a real demo of the software. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go into my browser, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to log in. Okay, my environment is busy just because I can see data from Infor, from Oracle, that's Oracle EBS as well as JD Edwards. I can look at SAP data, Microsoft data, Glovia data. We're going to obviously focus on Infor. Within Infor, we support BON and LN. We support Sightline, SX.e, Lawson, BPIX, PRMS, you name it. For this demo, we're going to focus right here on SX.e. Now, each of these modules can be turned on and off on a user or user group basis. Cyberquery is where we go to build a report. Launchpad is where an end user is going to go to run a report. So let's just start there to show you what an end user can see. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to use this tree structure over here on the left, but remember, this is all customizable by you. So your own logos, color schemes, graphics, tree structure. So if I click on finance, I can go look at payables, receivables, or financial statements. Here's a financial dashboard. This is showing me that pink is income. The green is the owner's equity. So that line that you're seeing right there is return on equity. You'll see when we got negative numbers, we got negative return. But if I come in here and just click on one of these bars, here's my income statement for that period. And again, I can click on any of these blue underscores to drill down to see that data, in this case, by ledger account. And again, I go click, click, click. Anytime I want, all I do is I click export to Excel, PDF, HTML, again, whatever. So again, end users just need to know click. Okay, here's an example of a cash flow statement. Again, by period, just again, clicking off of those bars. Here's a good old balance sheet. Again, it's that easy for users to get them. And again, anytime they want, they can, print it, do whatever they need to do. Okay, let's go back. I want to go into the sales area. So let's go sales. Here's an example of a sales dashboard. And what this is showing revenue or sales by year by month. This one over here is showing margin by year by month. And here's kind of a 13-month rolling revenue versus margin percentage line. But if a user comes in here and they click on any of these lines, for example, click on May, it says, well, do you want to look at the details for this month, or do you want to see year to date? I'm going to click year to date. System goes out there, and for that report, the system just read 1.4 million rows. See, the system is fast. I'm going to come in here, look at Adam Wood. I click that expansion arrow in front of Adam, and now we're seeing his sales information broken down by customer. If I have questions, I'm saying, okay, let's go look at, Barton. I just click right there on that blue underscore, And again, here's the details for customer equals Barton for that time period. Again, users just go click, click, click to see the data they want, and the system is that fast. So that's an example of a good old sales dashboard. I can also come in here and, if I click on any of these reports, here's an example of a simple sales report showing, customer name, sales rep, balance, credit limit, available credit. If I click on available credit, that is going to resort this report in available credit sequence. So you'll see when I've got negative credit, I've got a hyperlink. When it's positive, I don't. If I click on one of these hyperlinks, watch what happens. In this case, ECQ's built, it's called Outlook, and said, okay, Mandy, you're over your credit limit by $556. I can add notes, I can do whatever. I'm going to just close it. But again, so ECQ can call and be called by pretty much any application out there. Okay, let's get out of the end user side. Let's go build a couple reports. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to do it this way. I'm just going to go right into Cyberquery. Now, as we go into Cyberquery, the system's going to take us to the last report we were working on. I'm going to say I want to do a new report. It takes us into the wizard. The wizard says, do you want to do a list report with good old rows and columns? Do we want to do a summary or a crosstab or pivot table-like report? We can do plots or charts. We can do labels of any size and format. We can also start with an existing inquiry and modify that. In my example, let's do something really simple. I'm going to do a list report, and I'm going to click Next. The system says, okay, what data do you want to look at? Now, I'm currently looking at what we call the native viewpoint. So again, if I were to type in here something like OEE, here's my OEEH table or my OEEL table. And again, a lot of technical people like to work with the native names. I'm an accountant, so I actually prefer to use what we call the end user viewpoint. So if I say use my end user viewpoint, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go look at one called, well here, I'm just going to type in here the word order. So if I were to come in here and look at my, order entry line items, and if you look down here, you'll see that that is my OEEL table. So again, it gives users something a little bit more intuitive than OEEL. I mean, if they know OEEL, use it, great. But again, if you want to look around and find, your customer table, and you don't know what that, whether that's ARSS or whatever, again, just come in here and type the word customer, and off you go. So again, nice environment, and it gives you, user-friendly names, and those are built automatically just as part of that dictionary build that we do on site, so it picks up all of your custom tables and custom fields. Okay, for my example here, I'm going to go look at, I'm just going to look at my item table. I'm typing the word item, and I'm going to go look at my item table. To build a report, all you do is click and drag or double click. So there's item description, here's unit of measure, here's my product code, my PMT code, my unit cost. So there I've got a half dozen fields. But there's one more field I want. I want to get my inventory on hand. But I don't know where inventory on hand lives. So I'm just going to type in the word hand. The system looks through my dictionary and says, okay, you've got fields that have the word hand in them in any one of these three tables. I'm going to say, well, I want to go to my item warehouse table. I'm going to click and drag and bring it in. Now, here's the most important part of the demo. Notice ECQ does not ask me how to go from my item file to my item warehouse table. So I already figured that out. I just click and drag, ECQ figures out the joins. It's that easy. Okay, when I'm happy, I click Next. The system asks me if I want to sort in the report. I'll say, yeah, let's sort it based on item. It's also going to say, do you want to select? Now, I can double click on any of these columns or these fields, and ECQ supports pretty much every Boolean operator known to mankind. So we can use any of these, or we can, in this case, I'm going to use none of them. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to say finished. System goes out there and runs the report, and that quickly, I've got a list of my item, description, unit measure, product code, and my PMT, whether it's manufactured or purchased, unit cost, quantity on hand. Now, if I wanted to select, for example, I might say, I only want to see my purchased items. I'm just going to do a right mouse click and say, only get me items equal purchased. Again, that easy. If I want to do a calculation, I'm going to highlight two columns, do a right mouse click and say, let's create a new column and let's multiply those two columns together. the system guesses at a column header, doesn't guess right very often. I'm going to highlight that column header, and I'm going to call this my extended cost. I'll say OK. I'm going to right mouse click that column again and say, you know what, let's go to my item properties. I'll say it's numeric. I only need to see 2 decimal places rather than the 8 that are showing. There we go. I'm going to right mouse click one more time and say, hey, I want to see that column descendingly sorted. I'll make that the primary sort. So now I get my most expensive items up at the top of the report. So again, it's left mouse, right mouse, click, click, click. You know, that's all your users need to know. The system is a lot like Excel, so users that know Excel will pick up ECQ very quick. Here's the most popular button in the product. That's the good old undo button. So if I click undo, we're not sorted anymore. If I click undo again, we're back to 8 decimal places. I can click redo, redo, redo as much as we need. Okay, with ECQ, I can schedule the report. And again, the system will just kind of walk me through the process. Says, okay, do you want to save the changes? I'll call this one TUG 01. And it's just going to walk me through the process of scheduling a report. I'm going to create a pattern. I want to add a pattern that says, okay, run this report at 12 o'clock. Let's run at 12 o'clock a.m. Click right there. And I'm going to start this batch job tomorrow morning. And I want it to repeat every weekday, or maybe every other weekday until the end of, let's go to the end of the month. So I'll go click, 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 and that easily we build a batch job. Okay, if I want to, I can output this data to Excel just by clicking there, and here's this report being dumped into Excel. And if I scroll down here to the bottom, click right there, you'll see that that comes in as an Excel function. It's not just a printed value. So that's nice. Okay, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to just real quickly click there. I'm going to click on Cyberquery, and I'm going to insert a report. So I'm going to go right there, go off my local host. It logs me in, and let's go from, we're going to go from right here, okay, we're going to do this for SX.e. Oops, I don't have any examples there. I'm sorry. We'll pick on Sightline. No, I've got some examples there. Let's use, I just want to get my sales by product details. Now the system asked me 4 questions. It says, do you want the input fields to be part of the spreadsheet or come in via a pop-up dialog? I like them in the spreadsheet, so I'm going to choose that option. It says, do you want to include a refresh time? I'll say yes. And I'm also going to say, make my Excel formatting take precedence over the report. So I go click, click, hit finished. System reaches back into SX.e, generates the data, and that quickly I've got data being pumped into my Excel spreadsheet. Okay. All right, let's get out of Excel here. I'll just jump right back over here to Cyberquery. If I click here, we'll get an HTML version of the report. This will give me a PDF version. Here's email the report. And again, so it's just that easy for users. If anybody ever wants to look at the syntax, they just click on the keyboard, and here's the code behind that report. Most users never see the syntax, but that syntax does come in handy because there may be times where you want to do a mass change to a report, and it's a lot easier to do that at the syntax level rather than doing it in the click and drag. But I can go through here. I'm currently in the scroll that lets me do the dragging and dropping. I'll show you the drill in a minute. The paintbrush lets me control font style and color. So I can make my font bigger, I can bold it, I can make my background color maybe a light blue, but I can also conditionally highlight. So in this example, I'm going to say, you know what, if I've got inventory on hand greater than or equal to 1,000 units, I'll say greater than or equal to, let's make it 1,000 here. 1,000 units, I want to add a conditional color. So I'm going to say I'll make that yellow, and I'll apply it to the whole line. So again, I can real easily now spot where I've got inventory on hand greater than 1,000 units. Okay, I can also come in here and I can add graphics. I can get rid of that logo and maybe add a new one here. Let's see what we get. Here's the TUG logo. I'm going to shrink that down, make it nice and small. And now we can make that, you know, the default page header for any of our reports. And we can also come in here. I can click on my border tool. The border tool lets me draw boxes and banners and kind of highlight areas. Again, it's all just a left mouse, right mouse click. I'm going to go to my border properties. I'm going to make this look striped. So we kind of get, this will be for us old accountants, kind of a green bar like looking report right there. And again, if I click Excel, everything, all the formatting goes down to Excel, everything except the logo will hand down. Okay, we're getting short on time. I'm going to be real quick. I'm going to do one more report. I'm going to do a new report because I want to show you some sales data. I'm going to do some report on my sales data. I'm going to come in here. Let's go look at sales order lines. And I'm going to summarize a field called amount. I'm going to type NA, jump down to amount. And I want to summarize that by means down the page. I want to go down the page by my address table using customer name. And I'm going to go across. I'll just use order date. Click. Okay, I'm going to click finished. So I go click, click, click. And now here's a report showing sales by customer across year. Now some people describe ECQ as like an Excel pivot table on steroids, where every field in SX.e is available to your pivot table. So if I were to come in here and say, well, I want to see data from my item information, I'm just going to grab my description, go click, drag, drop. So here's sales by customer, by product, by year and amount. If I were to take description and put it in front of name, now I'm looking at sales by product description, then by customer name, again by year and amount. So again, it's just I'll click and drag any field you want. I'm going to hit my delete button, so that's gone. Because I want to show you how to use the drill. If I click on the drill, I can drill down into any given, column, cell, row, value, group. So if I say, let's just look at my even years. I just held down my control key, do a right mouse click, and I'm going to say restrict to those years. So now I'm just looking at year 2000, 2002. Again, that easy. I'm going to do an undo. We're back. I can also do the same thing for rows. I can say, show me BP with all roles, and Steve at Big Mart. They're really part of the same group. I'm going to create a new category. Just call that BP. Say enter. And now those 3 rows are combined into 1. I'll click undo again. Let's drill down into that cell. It looks like Lowe's bought a whole bunch of stuff in 2000. What'd they buy? Right mouse click, drill down, and I can pick any item from my dictionary. So let's go back, and I'm going to pick that general item description again. Just grab it right there. Say OK. So now I've drilled down. Oh, it looks like I grabbed order number. I can't drag and drop, it looks like. But again, it's all click, drag, drop. If I want to bring in more data, if I want to bring in price that they paid, here's price, click, drag, drop. If I want to bring in quantity ordered, here's quantity ordered. Again, it's click, drag, drop that easily. And I can, anytime I want, do an undo, 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 and we're kind of that back top level report. And if I want, I can now convert this report to a chart. I'm going to click on my chart. It warns me that I've got a whole lot of data to try to chart there. I'm going to get rid of year for just a second. So here's sales by customer. Let's write, I'm going to come in here and change it from a bar. Let's make it a pie chart. So there's a pie chart. Maybe I want to make it a 3-dimensional pie. There we go. I want to add labels or not have labels. Again, it's just a click away. But I can, go back and forth. I'm going to go back to my summary report. And maybe this time, let's go across. Well, again, I'll go across by order date. Just drop it in there. And what I can do now is I can say, I kind of like this report, but I want to prompt the users for a starting date range. Let's do that. We'll do it real quickly here. I'm going to come in here. Before I publish the report, I'm going to create an input field. So I'll say, my starting date must be greater than or equal to a runtime parameter. We'll call this one TUG starting date. We'll say, please enter a starting date. Default value is going to be 0101.2000. My data is pretty old, but we can allow for multiple inputs. We can, and this will create drop-down lists for us automatically. But we say, okay. Let's run the report. Rather than starting with 2000, let's say I want to start with 2001. I'm going to say okay, and now you can see the report's working the way we expected. So I'm going to say, let's save it, and we'll just save it right there. Oh, it's got to give it a non-blank name. Let's do that. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to make this report, we'll call this a TUG underscore 02. There we go. And now I'm going to publish the report. I'm going to publish it right to my Launchpad. Okay. Oh, let's do it again. Sorry. Try that. Publish. Yeah, save that report. Let's give it the same name. Okay, now it's going to walk us through the process of publishing the report back to the Launchpad. So we're going to publish that report. We'll call that good. It says, do you want to publish the report, the format, and the executable? I'll say yes. And it says, where do you want to publish it to? I'm going to publish it into my Launchpad, and I'm going to put it in my sales area. And it says, what do you want to call it? We'll call it TUG2 for right now. That's good enough. It says, will you allow end users to view it? Yes. Run it? Yes. Edit it? No. Clone? No. Subscribe? No. And we're going to take the default format, and we can make the format always be HTML, PDF, or Excel. We'll make this be HTML, just be different. We're going to run it from that application. We're not going to reschedule it or have it run in batch. And so we're done. So if we go click, 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 and we're finished. So now if I go back to my browser and I click on my Launchpad and I go look under Sales, here's that report called TUG2. I can click right there and run the report. And it creates this widget for me automatically. I can say, let's don't start with January 1, let's start with January 20th. Click Run, and there's my report. I mean, again, that quickly. So again, it's all very easy. Drag, drop, publish out to your Launchpads. You can take multiple objects and put them in a dashboard, and you can, what we call, compose objects together to have multiple graphics in a single page or dashboard. So again, very powerful and yet super easy to use. So with that, it looks like we got a few minutes left for some quick questions. It looks like I see one question about, okay, how big a server do you need to install ECQ on? Okay, ECQ, it's very efficient code. So again, most people like to put it on a Windows server. If the Windows server has a half a gig of RAM, that's more than enough to run ECQ. Most people, especially if they're virtual, will put ECQ on a server that's got between 2 and 4 gigs of RAM. The only thing you need on the server, so everything is self-contained with ECQ. The only thing you need if you put ECQ on a Windows server is the Progress Windows client. Because again, we're making native calls to Progress. That's the only thing we need on a Windows install. So, okay, let's see if there's any other questions.
So we've just got a couple of minutes left before the deadline of 3 o'clock. If anybody has a question, you want to raise your hand, feel free to do so. And we'll hang out here for a couple more seconds, see if anybody types anything in. But that's all I see right now, Jim. Okay, here comes one more. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can. Let me do that trick you taught me. Okay, so can you manipulate the join so that you pull all data out of one table and only matching data out of a second table? Yes. So as you define joins, our default join is a left outer join, which means grab everything and present that. But we can also say, hey, make this a one-to-one join, or make this an approximate join, or you can do a reverse approximate. There's probably about 20 different join types within ECQ. Okay.
Okay.
I see one question about pricing. So with pricing, again, the average price is about $1,200, $1,300 a month on the software. If you go annual, it's 11 times the monthly amount. So again, you don't have to talk detail about pricing, but pricing the way it works, and there's a different packages you can use. You can have anywhere from 2 developers to 5 developers to 100 developers. The base package is normally around 5 developers, and then you can add additional developers for $59 a month, or additional runtime or Launchpad users are $14 a month. So that's why we say the average SX.e customer spends around $1,200 to $1,300 a month on the software. So, but thank you for those questions.
There's one other.
Okay.
Do you have customers using the Pro 2?
The replicated database, the answer is yes. So again, it's just another Progress database, or in this case, another SQL database that we can access. So you just point ECQ wherever you want, and we can read any database, whether it's the Pro2 replicated, i.e. an ODBC database, or we can point directly at the Progress database, your choice.
Okay. Jim, we're at the top of the hour, so we're going to have to cut it off. Fortunately, I don't see any other questions, so I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank you for doing the webinar. It was a great webinar, and I wish everybody a great day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, take care, everybody.